Starting the recording for session number 10, post-construction, with Randy Stribling.
Want me to start over?
Learning objectives.
Oh, learning objectives. This slide illustrates the learning objectives of this class. Objectives. Boy. We're going to cover some concepts related to facility management, the facility manager's role in the project delivery process. We'll review the importance of the record document that are to be provided as part of the closeout of the project, and review the concept of total project commissioning. This is the session outline and the key topics we will be discussing. You can see that we've almost made a complete circle in the project life cycle. Okay, post-construction is the primary topic, but we'll also cover some important aspects of project closeout that are vital to the successful facility management. The roles and responsibilities of the facilities manager. Okay, this is one that I have to read the whole slide so you can follow along. The facility manager should be actively involved in the project delivery process. He or she will ultimately have to maintain the building. If there's work that is not complete or that is shoddy or low quality, then the repairs might fall to the facilities manager to repair, or will become a constant source of irritation for them. So the bullet point, you should be involved in the project closeout to assist in the transfer of the completed project to a facility. It's important for the facility manager to understand the construction contract requirements affecting commissioning, equipment and systems, startup, project closeout, identify maintenance staffing requirements, and assign and train staff, take delivery of extra stock and maintenance equipment and supplies, and coordinate installation of owner-provided furniture, furnishings, and equipment. The next page, continued. Participate in the system startup and testing, participate in systems demonstration, participate in systems operation and maintenance training, understand project correction period and warranties, accept and manage record documents, and accept and manage building information models. Okay, first ready. Okay, the roles and responsibilities of facility manager during project closeout. The contractor is required to furnish the record document, not just drawings, but all of the elements listed here. It is a good idea to have a list of products that have been ultimately provided, or highlight the name of the products in the specifications if more than one are listed. Colors for paint and names should be provided, which are not listed here. Spare parts, attic stock, and specialized tools need to be turned over. Now this slide says that these items should be turned over at substantial completion. This is good in principle, but most likely will happen after substantial completion and before final payment. The correction period begins with the date of substantial completion. Very important concept to understand. The slide is number 12, punch list. Who prepares the punch list? Initially, the contractor does, which is attached to the request for substantial completion set to the AE. And this list is added to by the architect engineer as part of substantial completion. Can punch list items be added as part of the final completion inspection? What if in the process of repair the painter dripped paint on the floor or the paint was running? Yes, there can be punch list items added. However, I would recommend that you identify the items in detail, and if there is going to be some acceptance later, this can be clearly documented. In accordance with the general conditions, the owner has the ability to accept a defect and not require the repairs made. If this is done, it should be documented by the AIA, especially if it's on a tight time frame. And this could really impact the facility manager or owner in the future, having to deal with, substandard construction.
Absolutely.
But time is money. Next, 13. All right, this is a double plus slide, so it's very likely that there will be an exam question on this topic. The contractor's warranty begins on the date of substantial completion. Note that the final payment by the owner does not eliminate the contractor's obligation to complete the work in accordance with contract documents. This is another reason why the punch list should be thorough and complete. If there are special separate warranties for each thing, such as the roof, waterproofing, and paint coatings, for example, these warranties often exceed the contractor's correction warranty period. There should be a log and a project notebook with all the warranties bound into this notebook, turned over by the contractor as part of closeout. Note that these warranties often have special clauses that waive the responsibility of the manufacturer if the products are not maintained or if they're abused during the course of the warranty period. For example, if there's a communications antenna or a microwave dish added to the roof and the antenna installer punctured the roof membrane and water was introduced into the system and not repaired, and subsequently this trapped water caused the roof seem to break loose, causing further damage, and then the warranty might be breached. So it starts rolling downhill. Okay, slide 14. This is another one with starred, the warranties and guarantees. When the warranty notebook is turned over and as part of the shop drawing approval process, the facility manager should review the warranties and the special requirements or limitations listed there. And I'm supposed to read the slide on this one. So, the facility manager should review warranties and guarantees for the following: products included or excluded, warrantor, guarantor, the duration, conditions and restrictions, authorization and activation by warrantor, guarantor, whether the owner acceptance is required, the coverage limits, and the requirements for maintenance. Another starred one. The facility manager should review the completed work annually and 6 months prior to the end of the correction period. This allows enough time to conduct the inspection and ensure that the repair and follow-up work is completed. The facility user should be interviewed to ensure that the building is functioning properly, and the 6-month and first-year review should be conducted with the AE team, as they will have some insight of non-performance and contract requirements. Although not mentioned in these slides, it's a good policy to set up a sort of warranty request notice that is dated, states the problem, the area of the building, maybe includes a photograph and the date issued to the contractor with a place for reply. These should be logged and tracked. Repeat issues may need further action. Okay, operations and maintenance. Maintenance data is part of the record documents that a contractor is required to provide. You may not see all of these items included in a set of closeout documents. Most likely you'll see items like general, preventive, and routine maintenance, emergency contact information.
It's important to have good maintenance data, simply because you can easily have a owner who can ruin a finish, ruin a product, and then turn around and blame the designer or blame the contractor for the fact that their maintenance crew has been using the wrong solution on the materials and having a failure that way. So maintenance requirements, although they seem buried into the boilerplate of the specifications, are very important to not only the owner but the architect and the contractor.
Oh, and they never can find the paint information when they need to do touch up or changes or something like that. So, okay, number 18, operations and maintenance data. In addition, environmental issues such as hazardous waste and disposal of fixture, lamp, or elevator hydraulic fluid, freon, for example, have an impact on maintenance. How the building systems are intended to be run and operated is an important part of the building maintenance. For example, there is a design optimal operating temperature, and this is not maintained in a building, then there could be an opportunity for mold growth. This happened a lot with hotels in the late 80s. There was a tremendous problem with mold growth on the back of wall coverings where the dew point formed at that point at the exterior walls. And the dew point is a factor of the inside air temperature set point. The other items listed are some additional general categories of maintenance data. Just be familiar with these aspects of facility management. Okay, 19, demonstrations and training. Standard contracts typically stipulate contractor to provide and submit prior to date of substantial completion. The building system's operation and training sessions should occupy prior to the substantial completion, since the owner takes over the maintenance and utility cost on the date of substantial completion. There may be questions that come up after the training is completed, so generally there's a list of emergency contact numbers that are provided. However, all warranty requests and communications should still run through the contractor. Resource materials. The record drawings and resource materials are vital to the successful maintenance of the building. These should be permanently retained, readily available, and then provided in both paper and digital copy. All right, project record documents. As stated previously, the record drawings need to illustrate the actual construction with revisions posted and materials used noted in the specifications. That's a big bugaboo. So half the time they never mark up specifications. You don't know what the materials. In addition to the record drawings, not as-built, as we have discussed previously, the contractor must also provide startup logs. If the project team uses BIM in the preparation of the contract documents, then the BIM model should be turned over to the owner at the end of the project, along with the software needed to open and manage the digital files. The ownership to the contract documents should be spelled out in the contract between the owner and the architect. Also, make sure that the files are there and that the XREFs backgrounds are included and formatted properly. A corrupt or partial drawing is not going to be beneficial.
And if you've ever worked on a remodel project, you know just how valuable having accurate record drawings are.
Yes.
And I'm dealing with that just about every day here, of having inaccurate drawings. It's important to remember a note made before is that the contractor is responsible for providing as-builts, and those are handed over to the design team, and typically as an additional service, then the architect will take those as-builts, update the construction documents to provide what's called record documents, not as-builts.
Right.
But they should be as accurately as possible. Also, in BIM models, it gets even more complex because of the fact that it will also typically not necessarily show on, let's say, plumbing drawings, the elevations of sanitary lines. Mm-hmm. But when you're modeling it in BIM, those are all there in 3D.
Yeah.
And so they need to be updated and corrected also, because if the owner turns around and makes a renovation someplace else, they're going to expect to have that data even more accurate. So the the use of BIM, and an owner that has a BIM model requirement is going to be even more demanding, and it's going to take more time to do those record documents accurately.
Okay, next, facility evaluations. 23. Facilities should be evaluated on a regular, ongoing basis. These evaluations need to address use, effectiveness, efficiency, operational cost, maintenance, and environment. And that's continued on the next slide. Planning and scheduling, routine and preventive maintenance, capital improvement, facility upgrade, system and equipment replacement. The facility evaluation should plan for the future. If there's a planned expansion, maybe the replacement of a roof that is not in the area of expansion, which can be incorporated into the project or bid as an alternate for future budgeting and consideration. Commissioning activities, number 26. 27. Okay, this is a double star. There are two basic kinds of commissioning: total project commissioning and system and equipment commissioning. The primary difference is that PPC begins at the inception of the project and continues through the project delivery process, and the facility manager should participate all the way through that process. Make sure you understand the definition of these two approaches to commissioning. Examples of a system or equipment commissioning are test and balance report or light level verification. Like a football or baseball stadium, there are light level verifications that are done as part of the file of the field. That should be lighting, aiming to ensure an even distribution of light. Test and balance report, very important to ensure the HVAC system airflows are properly set for each room. There is ample return air supply, and the heat strips work for other heat sources properly. Number 28, commissioning activities. The facility manager needs to be engaged in the commissioning process, just like the training sessions on the equipment. The commissioning process is a verification of the design and construction. Invariably, there'll be a problem that needs tweaking when we're working. Well, this is Chip's notes here, but when he was working on Raymond James Stadium, he found a major return air duct that was not connected, and which was found through an independent analysis. The lack of the proper supply of return air created a negative pressure within the building when they opened the suite windows, and all the hot air came rushing into the building. This overtaxed the HVAC cooling system and was not able to recover timely, so they had to pre-cool the building for a few days before each game to accommodate the shortfall until the corrective action was made.
It could cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just for pre-cooling a facility that's that.
Right. Decommissioning activities. Just because a building is no longer useful on its original purpose does not mean it should be destroyed. Alternative uses might be a consideration. Prior to demolition of a building, an environmental analysis should be done for the disposal of hazardous waste. The building owner could be on the hook for any hazardous material remediation costs if not properly disposed of. Almost done. This is the review outline of what we have covered today. Questions? Thanks. This is the last session of the CDT prep class. Make sure that you practice the sample exam questions and remember to read the questions carefully, as the questions are tricky. Not can be, but they are tricky. There may be some questions on the exam that we have not covered in this class. In your CD of supplemental handouts is they have a copy of the CDT workbook, and it would be great preparation for the exam to take the workbook and go through the document point by point. There are also some flashcards on the CD. You may want to run through these and see what questions are missing. This may help you focus your study efforts.
Also, we're going to have an online mock exam. Going to give you links to that. The online mock exam has 200 questions. It's multiple choice. It's the exact example of the actual exam itself. It'll be available after the end of the next session. We'll send it out to everybody in attendance. And so, as we noted, the closeout date was yesterday for registering for the CDT exam this year. You can always try again next year, or you can go to the CSI convention this year and take the exam there also. Having no questions written from the audience, thank you all. We'll meet you at the same time, same place next week. Thank you very much.